Today we're going to be talking about early Chinese history, and we're going to do it in an outline by reading from our history books on pages 278 through 288, about 11 pages of the book. So China outline, and the outline is, the first talks about the land of China, so the geography, two powerful rivers, the Huanghe and the Yangtze, and also the western half of China is very mountainous, and there's deserts out there in the west. So the very first Chinese dynasty, they created myths. And the myth is their first myths talk about the founding of ancient China and how Yu the Great, with the help of some dragons, dug some irrigation canals. You know, it's myths. All cultures created myths. The first actual Chinese dynasty we can find archaeologically is the Shang dynasty. And they had kind of a class system with aristocrats on top. They also used oracle bones to tell the future by writing in bones questions and then heating the bones up until they cracked, and how they cracked would determine the answers to the questions from their ancestors. And ancient Chinese is a pictograph writing system, so like the character for a tree, there's not a word, it's not T-R-E-E, it's not letters that you sound out, it's one character whose meaning is a tree, and it's a picture of a tree. Also, the Shang dynasty was known for making fine bronze metal objects and working with bronze. We'll skip to the next dynasty, the Zhou dynasty. Is China's longest dynasty. They ruled China for over 800 years. They had a very good government bureaucracy, or people who worked for the government. You'd have to govern a country as large as China for 800 years. They also introduced the rule that the kings ruled by the mandate of heaven, that it was the God's will that the king was the king. And so if anything went wrong, like a natural disaster or a flood, then it was the king's fault. They also introduced better irrigation practices and trade. And at the end of the Zhou period, the aristocrats kind of took over and ignored the king's wishes. And that became the Warring States period, which was 200 years of civil war, where the 7 kingdoms of China were all completely fighting against each other all of the time. In the Warring States period, we have the 2 Chinese philosophers. The first is Confucius, whose big idea is that it's important to do your duty to your family and your community, and just be good, live a good life. He also helped open up the government to everybody. And in Taoism, Taoism means the way, and it was from a Chinese monk named Lao Tzu, and his big practice was to just live in harmony with nature. Then we did a worksheet where we looked at some of the sayings of Confucius, and we reworded them in our own words.